Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of A Pathway to Self-Realization. Troy Nobody. Welcome to episode 2. I've looked at the first episode and I hope I get better at reading and engaging with you so that you better understand the stories that I read. Leave me some feedback. There's lots of stories, so be interesting to see if I pull off a polished performance by the last story. We'll get there together. Okay, here we begin. Today's story. Your higher self is waiting. Elevate your neurological functions. Written in January 2022 by Troy K. Eichelberger, Nobody, yours truly. What does your higher self represent? In recent silent meditation, the subject of the higher self raised itself. Based on my former understanding, we reach the higher self by opening our crown chakra. Well, in my meditation, that was turned on its head. It was explained in a very different and scientifically viable way. Imagine you are deciding what to do for the weekend. You decide on a stay in the country, and your life is aligning with that choice. In my experience, the door opened to multiple choices all at once. This was an experience I had during meditation. I learned through these experiences. Instead of deciding on a drive, I experienced the sensation of selecting every option within my consideration. Now imagine the mind running wild and all the things I could be doing for the weekend. And all of a sudden, instead of picking one, you've picked every option. So that's the experience I had, which was quite unusual. One of those could be a day on the couch, a day on the beach, a day with family, or jump on a plane and fly to another country if you're well off. We don't know your circumstances. Well, I experienced an entirely different consequence. Following every choice made, life-changing scenarios involved. So because I experienced all of these at once, all of a sudden I experienced the consequences. During the meditation experience, I actually existed in an endless number of versions of myself. Self-consciousness limits us to the experience of only one such choice, whilst all other choices are actually experienced and recorded in our neurological mapping. We are not conscious of these in our present state. It is a protection mode for our brain during the early stages of development as a species, that is. What I did experience was that we can take it for granted that we exist in the multiverse. Remember, our thoughts are part of creation, cause and effect. We are co-creators, each one of us. One day, we will have the strength to cope with the multiverse and use it to our strengths. For now, we can take the advantage of this in a limited form via silent meditation. As we strengthen our connection to collective consciousness and dissolve active thought, we raise the anchor of the self. In fact, we can access the best possible scenario from each separate experience. Take advantage of our best suited self for any situation without ever having to become aware of it. Apply the concept of manifestation to understand this. Our neurological mapping allows for this to be fully functioning human feature. We presently use a mere fraction of our available neuron connections per brain cell. Why would we be equipped with so many possible connections in the brain if they had no function? Nothing is coincidence. If we design a computer, we will implement a system to connect additional software, features and downloads, additional connection points. However, no one would design a computer with almost 1 billion of blind connections per command. nor does nature, yet the human brain has just that setup. Our seemingly over-catered neuron network does have a functionality, capable of utilizing each such possible connection. So they are not blind data. We do not know how to connect them at this time. Presently, we are clearly missing the best way to engage our neurological system to its full potential. We must trigger and train ourselves to operate on an elevated mental platform. If you had a supercomputer and all you can do is press on and off and struggle with that, that would be the human experience. Our supercomputer is so much higher functioning than anything that exists in the digital world, yet we don't know how to use it. So that's what we must train. We must trigger and train ourselves to operate on an elevated mental platform. As the options of our choices are close to endless, so are our available, possible neuron connections to facilitate such choices. The way I experienced the explanation of this function was rather simplistic. It's still going back to the experience that I described from the meditation. I was given an example of a challenge. I was presented with nothing. The challenge had no subject, a challenge which I could not solve. Suddenly, I experienced multiple versions of myself, versions that had gained experience from the different choices available throughout my entire existence, versions of myself that presently exist in the multiverse. So, for example, if I decided I go to the beach, I'm off to the beach. But at the same time, in my thought, I decided, no, I'd like to go mountain hiking. The experience is that I've done both. That's the multiverse. I realized that in one of these versions of myself, I always have the expertise to solve any challenge at hand. Our range of skills is far superior to that which our limited awareness accepts. We do have the ability to train ourselves to reach that higher self and increase the utilization of our available brain capacity. The next frontier is collective consciousness. Think of collective consciousness to understand it as what people call source, akash. It's the wisdom of everything. It's what that potential of the billion neurons explains to us that we have. Frequencies in the atmosphere, we can access that through our sensory system. We can learn it just like yogis, by dedication. We can get glimpses. I'll go back to the previous sentence. The next frontier is collective consciousness. Think of it as source or akash. All is the combination of every living organism, past and present. For that is the historical makeup of our present cell structure and DNA. That is the power of one. We all share cells with past and present life forms. One day, humanity will be able to access akash at will, and with a specific request. I hope this will resonate with some of you and perhaps trigger further thoughts and solutions with others. Life is as enjoyable as we manage to design it. That's the end of the story. The interesting part is, with silent meditation, adding energy to our brain that we are using by constant dialogue, we're constantly wasting energy. Silence the mind. Silence that inner dialogue, your need for always knowing and predicting. Come into the presence and connect much more with yourself. Connecting with your true self will start showing you your potential. That's the end of episode 2. I still feel really rusty in reading this sitting here, but hopefully it gets traction. Hopefully I improve. Thank you for watching episode 2 of A Pathway to Self-Realization.